Well, hello. I was telling the organization that after Gustavo, we should all get a coffee. I should get 5 coffees. But let's find solutions, because what Gustavo told us is really nothing that new for us. We know. We pretend we don't know, but we know. Every single day we know. And if you, in fact, you follow Gustavo Caronas and other doctors that are in war scenarios, social network, you will find a lot of stories like this one. So let's find solutions, especially solutions with social impact and towards innovation. And so our next panel, we'll have 3 guests. One of them is online, so he was not able to be here at our Meu Impact stage. But for the moment, I will invite Filipe Almeida, the President of Portugal Inovação Social, and also Lara Próspero, Global Program Lead for New Higher Experience Program in Customer Experience and Success at Microsoft. So a big welcome to both of you. And we will be reaching Andrea Rubei, that's how you say his name?
Yes.
Yes, he is the COO at Microsoft, and he will be joining us in about... Hi, Andrea, already there. How are you? Everything okay?
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you from here.
Great. So, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to take my mask. It's kind of a lipstick right now. Well, it's full of lipstick, in fact. Filipe, how nice to meet you again. So he's the president of Portugal Inovação Social, so innovation, the innovation in Portugal. In fact, it's, I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit upset yet with the Gustavo's speech, and I'm trying to make a smooth entering into education, innovation, and social impact after we listen to this information, all this information, so absorbing all this information. But in fact, Filipe, sometimes, of course, we don't have, thank God, war zones, but in fact, Filipe, you, as actual president of Portugal Inovação Social, so the innovation, the social innovation in Portugal program, you know a lot of small but fantastic projects that have these kind of answers that we need, and maybe someday we can take them to Syria and Yemen and Congo. But right now in Portugal we also have a lot of problems that fortunately Portugal Inovação Social is helping us to solve. So thank you, Filipe, for commanding all these troops, all these leaders that are trying to change every single day, at least Portugal, with social innovation.
Thank you, Fernanda. Hi, everyone. Let me start by greeting my colleagues online and offline, and everyone that is watching. It's quite a privilege to be here after what we heard in the previous minutes, especially after hearing Filipe Santos. It was very inspiring, that talk about education and entrepreneurship, and I'm deeply honored of succeeding Filipe Santos in this role as President of Portugal Social Innovation. 4 years ago, I succeeded Filipe Santos. Filipe Santos was the one who gave birth to this baby, and I taught this baby to walk. That was my role here. So let me briefly present Portugal Social Innovation, which is, as you said, a very inspiring experience that we're developing in Portugal. As you know, since the beginning of this century, civil society initiatives and entrepreneurial projects have escalated around the world. And in order to successfully address the highly complex and interdependent social and environmental problems that we're facing today, and even the consequences of this unimaginable pandemic crisis, it's crucial to develop strong and meaningful partnerships between the public, the private, and the social sectors. And on top of that, to put impact and social and human outcomes at the core of our objectives and strategies. And this was basically the underlying belief that was behind the creation of Portugal Social Innovation, which is a pioneering public initiative that is helping to make the world, as you said, Fernanda, a better place. With this ground-breaking program, public program, the Portuguese government has taken the lead on innovative public policies for supporting social innovation, social entrepreneurship. It is a program coordinated at the center of the government that mobilizes European structural funds with two main objectives. First, to finance social innovation projects in Portugal and helping entrepreneurs bring their ideas into reality. Second objective, to develop the social investment market, which is to say, to persuade investors to join this movement. So, in a nutshell, we have in Portugal today unique conditions for entrepreneurs to experiment new ideas and approaches to deal with the most challenging social problems. And we have also unique incentives for investors to change their investment strategy and paradigm. So we mobilize European structural funds, and we've created 4 financing instruments roughly aligned with the life cycle of a social innovation project with 2 basic assumptions. Each of them is oriented to a specific stage of development of a social innovation project, addresses specific needs of these projects. And the second assumption, all of them assume the partnerships between social organizations and entrepreneurs with new ideas to deal with social problems and the investors, private or public, that are willing to direct their investment to these innovative projects with social impact. So, briefly, I can say that we have these 4 instruments. The first is a grant-based capacity building program, which is fundamental to develop management competencies. Then we have a grant-based match fund that leverages philanthropy, a social impact bonds program, the third instrument, which is an outcome payment instrument that contracts measurable social outcomes and pays for results. And finally, we have Social Innovation Fund, which is a financial instrument, the first 100% public fund created in the world to leverage impact investing and develop the social innovation markets. It provides guarantees for loans and co-invests alongside with private investors in projects that have social innovation projects of SMEs. So with these 4 instruments, for the past 4 years, we've been financing these projects, following up these social entrepreneurs that Fernanda was talking about, and attracting new investors. To this date, we have approved 579 projects all over the country, which represents more than 110 million euros, of which 35 million euros are from social investment. We are working with more than 400 social organizations and entrepreneurs, more than 650 investors. And these projects aim to impact more than 300,000 people, and they are all experimental projects. But as you said, Fernanda, the star of the show are the projects. So I provide you with just a few examples. I know that Lara will talk about how technology can help social inclusion, and I will provide you with some ideas. And these are actually the main interesting thing that I have to say about this, because these are actually the stars of this show. Let's start by unemployment. Just an example. To fight unemployment, we have solution, the Code Academy. Code Academy, which is an intensive capacity building program for developing personal and technical competencies, skills. It's a 14-week intensive bootcamp that teaches code to young unemployed people from any scientific background. It's being done in a more rural area of Portugal, and it's not with partnerships with local industries. So it's helping not just to reskill the workforce and provide new career perspective to these young unemployed people, but also attracting new people to this more rural area of Portugal. Another example, for social inclusion of migrants, refugees, and foreigners, we have the SPEAK project, which is SPEAK. SPEAK is an online platform for sharing linguistic knowledge between the migrants, the refugees, and the local communities, that then evolved to offline events when they can share linguistic knowledge and cultural knowledge as well. It's a very effective project, maybe the most the more international project that we have so far in Portugal in terms of social entrepreneurship, because it's in different cities all over the world already. For developing, you have already mentioned here Apps for Good. Apps for Good is an incredible project that develops digital competencies and also social consciousness, which is a national contest of among hundreds of schools all over the country that challenge the students and their teachers to develop apps that can help solve social problems in their local communities. For example, to develop citizenship and educational success, we have Radio Miúdos, which means the kids' radio, which is the first online radio made just by kids, to kids. It works 24 hours a day, and they have local reporters and correspondents all over the world, more than 200,000 listeners every month. Another example, and I will finish in a minute. For example, to improve educational success, you have spot games. They are gamifying the teaching of mathematics and Portuguese in Portuguese schools as well. Sapie, which is an innovative tool that can help schools to predict early school dropouts. These are all amazing projects that are inspiring our efforts to make this a more interesting and vibrant ecosystem. And last but not the least, let me just end with a very special project that it's called Nuvem Vitória.
Oh.
Nuvem Vitória means the victory cloud,
Yes.
which is a very charming name. Fernanda is talking because she's the social entrepreneur of this project. And this is a project that develops humanity in all of us. Because the project it brings comfort and hope to children that are staying and sleeping in hospitals while they are sick or being treated. And they bring comfort and hope by telling them bedtime stories. It's quite inspiring because it not just helps the children, but their families as well, and develops the ones that go there every night. And this is quite comfort to know that all of these can become, in my dreams, public policies. How can we look at all these projects from this perspective. How can this help us to develop better public policies in all these areas? Because that's our duty to do that. We are financing these projects with public funds, national and European funds. So it's quite important to make these partnerships with the entrepreneurs, their ideas and their inspiring energy, and with the investors that can bring resources, competencies to this movement as well. So it's been quite rewarding to be in this boat with all of you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for talking about our little clouds. In fact, it's a pleasure being a part of Portugal Inovação Social, because we have this ecosystem of amazing people that really want to change the world. And the only part that I do, when I say I, it's the cloud, the nuvem. We really just read bedtime stories, but it makes a difference. It has a lot of impact. And the only thing I wish, after Gustavo was talking, and I was thinking, I wish I could read bedtime stories to those kids. Maybe they would start thinking that tomorrow it's there, just around the corner. That will be, maybe one day Microsoft will help us to get there. You never know. Hi, Lara. Welcome.
Hi.
How can innovation help us with this amazing social impact that Filipe was telling us about?
We can put you telling stories, bedtime stories to these kids with technology.
Oh my God.
So, and we heard Filipe on the public sector, and Andrea and myself, we represent a corporate. And I honestly believe that the corporate world also has a social responsibility on making the world a better place to live. And we do that usually by innovation through technology. And if you think about innovation, it doesn't need to be internet or cloud. So we had several revolutions where we innovate as humans. We had the agriculture innovator, we have the industrial transformation, now we have the digital transformation. So these are all breakthrough moments of the humanity that we use to progress. So the way Microsoft is approaching this, and when we talk about innovation and we talk about social, I think that almost everyone should know that one of our founders is a big philanthropist in the world. So Bill Gates has a foundation and keeps investing in philanthropies. And the way that we see it is the end goal is to be more inclusive in everything that we do. So being inclusive means that we reduce the gaps, that we give the opportunities to people that usually don't have the opportunities, like you were just saying, in rural areas. So it's all about putting the human being in the center of everything we do and develop for the humankind, not for the company A or the government B. And let me also give you some examples, because I think that the fun part is not us talking, but give real examples. So we can promote inclusiveness, for instance, through smart cities. If we have disabled people, like a deaf people, they cannot hear traffic, but they can have, for instance, a wristband with an alert that just vibrates if a car is coming, and they don't listen. And guess what? Now probably we also can use this, because with electric cars, we don't listen to them either, right? Another one, and that goes to kids, and this is something I work in the development, talent development area, so this is something that is near and dear to my heart. It is about developing people. When we think about rural areas, sometimes they don't have the same opportunities to school, to education as other kids in big cities. So through innovation, through the usage of technology, we can bring internet connections to rural areas in the middle of Africa, Asia, South America. But we can also bring, because for internet to work, we need to have electricity, right? So we can use new technology, like using renewable energies, to pump energy into these new schools, these new areas of learning and development in these areas that were almost forgotten, like Gustavo was saying. So there are ways to transport technology to these areas. And there is a final one, because we're talking about sustainability, so I thought about bringing something green to the discussion. We talk about people movement from rural areas to cities. And why are they moving? Because they need opportunities, they need to get a job, they cannot farm the lands because they are too dry. We have droughts going around all the continents right now. So what if we use technology, and we have a couple of stories of Microsoft around that, to have a less intensive agriculture, a more efficient agriculture using the same resources, and allowing people to live in their own lands instead of migrating. So these are just some examples. I know that Andrea has a couple of others to share as well, so I don't take it all.
Yeah, thank you, Lara. Hi, Andrea. Welcome.
Hello, Ian. Hello, everyone.
How are you? I know you were
All
in
good, thank you.
Lisbon, but
Sorry, if if I open the window, I could hear you almost, but I have having a meeting immediately afterwards. I was not able to join you, but I'm there with my heart.
yeah, and thank God for innovation and technology. You're here and you're
Absolutely.
there.
Yes.
So you can give us more examples, and of course, a kind of wrap up of this panel called Education and Social Innovation. And also this, I'm always underlining the Gustavo's experience that he shared. How can we bring a better tomorrow for all people all around the world?
Well, first of all, I entered the virtual backstage while Gustavo was speaking. I was describing some of those terrible moments he lived, and I was shaken myself. It was things that we hear on the news, but when you hear it from a direct experience like this, is definitely something that really reaches close to your heart. So this is one of the very the many war zones that are continuing to happen at today, even if in a period where a lot of the people are probably remote and far away and don't see it. It's a terrible problem. The thing that I wanted to share with you is of the many commitments that Microsoft is making Definitely one of the most important one is how to build a more sustainable tomorrow, and it goes into many directions, and probably not all of them, but there are some that are really, really critical. And we know that climate change is having almost irreversible effects, irreversible effects on all aspects of our life, including the economy. And we really believe that it's our duty as a company, and we are privileged to be at the forefront of innovation, to act and to make sure that this is reversible before we leave to the future generation a world that is not really sustainable anymore. So there is definitely a commitment in the area of sustainability from Microsoft. But what I'd like to point out is that this is not just a duty, but it's also an opportunity. Companies are starting to see this as an opportunity. While we're building a more sustainable world, there are also opportunities to grow. As Lara said, we represent the corporate space. A lot of the businesses, whether it's a small business, a startup that is just coming on the stage right now, or a large corporation, everyone is feeling the pressure, especially right now, the economic pressure due to the pandemic, and building a more sustainable world actually represents a business opportunity as well, where we through the energy savings, precision agriculture, like Lara was referring to, smart cities. These are all new areas that really could provide an incredible opportunity for small and large corporation. Then enter COVID, and all of a sudden we are seeing not only the pressure of really reverting this exponential trend that is really impacting our environment, but also the impact, the short term, at least short medium term impact on employment. There are several numbers out there in terms of how GDP will decrease in the developed world, in how many people will be unemployed by the end of this year, in a few months' time. And I mean, some of the numbers that I've seen, I don't even know that they are still accurate. We're looking at 250 million people unemployed by the end of 2020. Due to the acceleration or the decline somehow in the economy that is due to the pandemic. And this is again a very serious matter, something that if we look back, at least with my generation, something that we have not seen before. We have to go back to the Great Depression, and even then, relatively speaking, probably the numbers, or at least in absolute terms, the numbers were not the same. So how do we address that in terms of reskilling people? That's another very important area. So these two topics: on one side, the commitment on building a more sustainable world, at the same time, trying to build the skills for tomorrow, and in both cases leveraging technology. Our core is technology, and we think technology has a huge role to understand what's happening in the world and to act upon it. From our side, we are looking. Our biggest investment are around the impact, the carbon footprint, the usage of water, the circular economy. So how we manage waste, especially when we produce and deliver in the whole supply chain of our products, our data centers, etc. And then how do we affect policy, because we have a voice, we have a strong voice, and we can affect policy to accelerate in some of these areas. And on the other side, being at the core of technology, we think we have a very strong role in reskilling people, in making sure that some of the people are in different stages of their life. They are ready for the new jobs that are coming. Again, some numbers say that in the coming years there are going to be at least 190 million more new jobs related to technology. And so here we have initiatives that go from, we are looking at internally at our operations to ensure that not only we are carbon neutral, but we are carbon negative by 2030. And we make a bold statement by trying to become carbon negative historically by 2050, which means that we want to take back from the environment all of the emission that we have historically done since the beginning of since the foundation of Microsoft. And for this, there has been a big investment, $1 billion sustainability fund, which goes in the direction of startups to support startups that are really investing in leading edge technology that will help us, our customers, our partners to be able to accelerate along that path. So that's one of the things that I wanted to mention. Uh, Definitely very, very important. On the other side, on the skilling side, we made the pledge to, by the end of 2020, to skill 25 million people through a series of initiatives leveraging our own Microsoft Learning path, and as well as LinkedIn and GitHub, which are for technical audiences on one side and more generalistic audiences on the other side, are absolutely very relevant to reskill people on technology job, but at the same time also to make them more aware of how to approach new job opportunities, how to become more sensitive to how to use technology in the future, because then it opens up to a lot of ethical questions. So these are some of the examples that I wanted to share with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea, so much for this opportunity to know a little bit more about all the things you've been doing. And we only have like 5 more minutes, but Filipe, the other Filipe, Filipe the first, talked about ethics of care. And I think we need to close this debate on education and innovation and social impact with our mind into the ethics. I think the difference is, the ethics of care and the ethics of how do we use all this innovation towards the good.
Yes, and I was hearing what Lara was saying and Andrea, and I was thinking that actually, why do we have this movement that allows all of us to be here and online in this world gathering, worrying about the same things? We all are connected to the same ideas. So the question is, why can't it change faster? If all of us are in the same page? Something is wrong in this. Some knots are not yet connected. So we need to understand which knots we need to connect in order to make this movement, because we are all in the same page. And actually, we came to this situation by 3 main, I would say, trends for the last decades. It couldn't be possible a gathering like this 50 years ago, because there were no global consciousness about these subjects. We had technology. Technology played a central role in bringing all of us together and developing ethics, because the fundamental ethics means that you care about someone that you don't know and you don't like because you don't know, but you care about them as much as you care about someone that is your friend. That is the basic ethics. And technology brought us all together, even though we don't know each other. That's why we hear all these stories, and we have empathy about these stories. Then you have democracy that allow us to freely think and associate with each other. And then the final part, we have education that help us to understand our rights and how can we build a new society and develop new ideas. And these 3 pillars, technology, democracy, and education, made it possible to be here today. The great question, the big question is, where are we going to be 5 years from now, after these challenges, after we all being connected like this? So that is a basic ethical question for more than 25 centuries.
Do you agree, Lara?
Yes, completely. I think that ethics comes with knowledge and experience. And the topic that you just said about global consciousness. So just the fact that technology allows us to know a little bit about what's going on in the world, if I know how do people live in a different place, I will understand why they are acting that way, right? So it's just through experiencing, knowing, engaging different communities that we can understand others. And if we understand others, we just bust the myths. We bust the myths on religion, we bust the myths on races, we bust the myths on ethnicities, because we learn that if people live in that specific way, they do that because that's culturally acceptable on that place. So for me, ethics comes with knowledge, education is the base pillar, and global consciousness is through experiencing.
And Andrea, I'll give you like 30 seconds just to have a quick thought regarding the help of technology, because a lot of people used to look at technology like a little 7 legs bug that will do more harm than good, but in fact it can be, and it's becoming the main tool to solve urgent and worldwide problems.
Well, like any other tool, technology is not good or bad per se, but it's the way you use it that in the end, the result out of it. So there's definitely a topic of ethics. I agree with what you just said, and that's why also we are so very active in terms of making sure that there are rules around the use of technology and in particular around more advanced areas of technology like artificial intelligence. So that is super important. But then if I look around myself and if I look around the things that I'm seeing, what technology is enabling, what some of the startups that we work with or that, some of our partners work with, the kind of innovation that they are bringing to the environment, to the way we learn, to the way we interact with each other is just amazing. So again, it's not technology per se is not good or bad, but I think the examples out there are very, very encouraging.
Thank you, Andrea, Lara, Filipe. Thank you so much. I wish we had at least more 2 or 3 hours, but the next hour will be filled with 6 amazing guests that will help us to understand a little bit more about our consciousness and the way the world is moving. And I think these 2 hours, for me, they were really amazing. Opportunity to see good friends, to meet new friends, and of course to share that this idea that in fact those who want to do something, they do find a way, and those who don't want to do, they find only excuses. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for having me here for the last 2 hours. I'll now give the floor to my colleague, journalist Pedro Santos Guerreiro. And don't forget, be a Planeteer. As Gustavo told us, open your borders, the borders of your heart. And of course, keep safe. Thank you so much.